Good Tuesday morning. Thanks for waking up with us here at 6 o'clock, and want to give you a live, I don't know, that does not look good. That looks like a very February look over central Indiana here, downtown Indianapolis.
Better than January.
Yeah. But hopefully you've got enough stamina coming off of yesterday's record-breaking day. It was beautiful yesterday.
Yeah. And the 60s, the high 60s have deserted us.
Big time. They were here for that long. In fact, yesterday, 3:43 in the afternoon, we got up to 68. That shattered by 1 degree. I'm kidding. That beat the record by 1 degree that was established during the COVID year. This was right before COVID started, when we got up to 67 last year. But that's just a memory now. In fact, I wanted to show you radar this morning. We're dry here. Notice that winter weather advisory there near the left-hand side of your screen. That is Quincy, Illinois, that established a record for heat. Now they've got a winter weather advisory that'll go into effect, and it's all part of this storm system coming out of Montana this morning. We will tap into some of that on Wednesday, but not now. Right now, it's just kind of cool. But hey, 34 is certainly warmer than our average low. And that's what we have now. 34 in Carmel and in Noblesville, Shelbyville, Martinsville at 37, Plainfield's at 35. We are running 9 degrees cooler than we were at this time yesterday. Greencastle now 15 degrees cooler, but I got to tell you, we just aren't going to warm up much at all today. In fact, we're going to go from 32 degrees by 8 a.m. to 38 at noon. Our high today just 41, and I'll do the math for you. That will make it 27 degrees cooler than at this time yesterday. And we are going to hang in some cooler temperatures the next couple of days with a wintry mix, some rain, and some thunder possible Wednesday. So we'll have the timeline on all that in just a little bit. But you know, Lindsay, this morning when I came in, I drove through fog. Is that an issue at all anywhere this morning?
Yeah, that's what you said. And it's really kind of breaking up.
Good.
And I kind of avoided it where I was coming in from the northeast side. So I wanted to show you that route. This is going to be near downtown. I-65 there at the West Street exit. This is near the north split where everything is looking pretty good so far. One of those trouble spots, though, that does tend to get backed up as we get closer to that peak morning rush. But if you're coming downtown right now, it looks pretty good. Same deal on this I-69 corridor. This is the RAM system at I-465 where we tend to see a lot of stop and go traffic in that peak morning rush. So right now, looks pretty good. The only delay we're looking at is about a 1-minute slowdown coming up 465 north.
Looks good. Thanks, Lindsay. Well, this morning, there is an additional 10% tariff now in effect for all imports from China coming into the U.S. That's one of Indiana's largest trade partners, to the tune of $5 billion. That's according to the Office of the United States Trade Representative.
And that tariff comes after the White House made an agreement with Canada and Mexico to pause that 25% tariff for both of those countries. In the meantime, those countries will be cracking down on the fentanyl trade.
And that is really something that President Trump was asking for. Matthew is joining us now. And how does this new tax specifically on China affect Hoosiers?
Well, we've all been looking at this, ladies, pretty closely to see if these tariffs will impact just how much we spend on things. And local finance experts actually tell me that the price of your daily needs will go up if we see these tariffs go through. Now, starting today, I should say, President Trump's 10% tariff will go into effect on goods imported from China. However, the country is retaliating with their own 15% tariff on U.S. products. So what does this mean for you? Well, according to the Census Bureau, some of those most important items from China include cell phones, computers, toys, furniture, and more appliances. So there's a strong chance that you're going to be paying more for those items in the immediate future. When it comes to the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, however, experts say you could see more spending on liquor, produce, as well as gas, depending on how these next 30 days go. So I spoke with an economic expert at University of Indianapolis, and he tells me it's really hard to say how much or how any of this will really turn out and how long it could last once implemented.
Because it's not going to be pretty. And it's kind of ironic because the president's policies relative to regulation and taxes are probably going to improve the economy, and we've seen that already, but this works in the opposite direction. So which one's going to prevail, we don't know.
Now, China says its 15% tariffs will take effect next Monday on the U.S. Meanwhile, President Trump is expected to speak with China's president in the coming days. So, Julie and Jalea, things could change depending on how that conversation goes. It really is just a waiting game. Meanwhile, experts say, we just have to see how the next 30 days plays out with Canada and Mexico to see how that will be impacting us.
And we might not even make it to 25 days because we changed with the president in 24 hours.
Right.
So,
True.
Matthew, thanks.
Your time is 6:05. A Johnson County man will spend a decade in prison for several schemes that helped him steal millions of dollars and even several homes. James Henley of Greenwood is pleading guilty to several charges, including aggravated identity theft and 8 counts of wire fraud. Authorities say that he engaged in several schemes to steal almost $3 million and 5 homes in Indianapolis. In addition to that prison sentence, Henley is also ordered to pay nearly $2 million in restitution, and he'll serve 3 years of supervised release. Well, 2 different Indiana schools this morning are pivoting to e-learning because of a rise in respiratory illnesses.
Yeah, I've heard this is really on the rise. So in response, a higher number of students and staff forced to stay home sick. So northeastern Wayne schools are actually having a learning day today and tomorrow due to excessive staff and student illnesses. So Horizon Christian School says more than 20% of their staff and students are also out sick with either the flu, norovirus, or pneumonia. 13 News spoke with Dr. Eric Yancey. He's a pediatrician in Indy. He says right now he is seeing a lot of patients with respiratory illnesses, and schools, unfortunately, they're the perfect breeding ground for sicknesses like the flu and norovirus.
But in certain situations, again, immunocompromised, underlying illnesses and things like that, it's harder for the body to kick it out, and therefore you are susceptible to more complications.
Now, he says a lot of times people are already sick before you start to see the symptoms of the flu. So taking those precautions during this time of year is so crucial. So that means things like wiping down surfaces and washing your hands.
But especially workplaces when you share areas like we
Like
do
a
here.
desk.
Yes. Yes. So stay to your
Spray it down, wipe it down,
down.
guys.
Well, hey, this morning the City County Council weighing in on how DPW should move forward with removing snow here in Indy.
We got to talk about this because just a few weeks ago, many of you had to dig out from back-to-back snowfalls and below freezing temps. So hundreds of city streets took days to finally get clear.
Now, others actually never even saw a plow come down their roads, especially in those residential areas. So now Democratic Councilor Jared Evans sponsoring a proposal 69 after receiving dozens of complaints from taxpayers.
Under this new proposal, DPW will be given 60 days to change its policy from only focusing on connector streets to plowing roads, including neighborhood streets, after 4 inches of snow.
So what this proposal is going to do specifically, we've put a threshold. We're saying at 4 inches of snow or more, we want our residential streets included in the process.
So the proposal will now head to the Public Works Committee later this month, and if it's approved then, it'll come back to the full council for a vote sometime in March. Right now, there is some internal conflict brewing in the council as Democrat Jesse Brown, who currently serves District 13, was voted out of the Democratic caucus. Councilor Brown says that his push for transparency is what puts him at odds with his colleagues. Well, we reached out to the caucus for a response, and here's a statement they sent 13 News saying, in part, when any member focuses on falsehoods, makes inappropriate accusations, and undermines the collective benefit of our shared work, their approach does not align with the principles of the caucus, end quote. The Indiana Senate just passed a bill to help local sheriff's departments cover the cost of working with ICE.
Supporters say this isn't about rounding up undocumented people in the community. Instead, they say it gives sheriff's departments federal money for training to be able to help ICE identify undocumented people that are already in the jails.
The common theme that we're hearing from both the federal and the state level administration is that, mass deportations, we're talking about, not necessarily just for individuals that are incarcerated. This is for all individuals. I mean, would you agree with that?
Well, the focus, kind of to bring you back to the bill, the focus of the 287G program is not that wide in scope. Now, is there public sentiment for that? I think the election told us there is. Certainly that's what I hear from my constituents.
Well, right now, there are no counties that are involved with these programs, but Hamilton County did recently sign up for something called a Memorandum of Understanding to explore getting this type of training.
6:10, a fourth quarter surge for the Pacers, just enough to scrape out a win against the Utah Jazz.
That's all we need. The Pacers were without center Miles Turner because of an ankle injury, but the blue and gold were able to secure that fourth straight win. Pascal Siakam scored 10 of his game-high 22 points in the final quarter to help boost the Pacers in this one.
Tyrese Halliburton added a three-pointer to put the team ahead, and the Pacers were able to hold on to this narrow lead, squeaking out a one-point win over the Jazz. So tonight they take on the Portland Trail Blazers. Tip for this one at 10 o'clock. Well, a big congratulations to the Pacers head coach, Rick Carlisle. He's now been named the Eastern Conference Coach of the Month for January after leading the team to an NBA best 10-2 record.
Oh, and the team has another game this weekend as part of their Western Conference road trip. You can watch it right here on WTHR. We're airing that game against the Lakers at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon here on Channel 13, and you don't have to pay a dime to watch it right here.
Well, this morning, two major retailers are feeling pressure over DEI policies. Coming up at 6:45 for you, we're going to talk about the changes those companies are willing to make.
And this morning, crews are picking up the pieces after two aircraft collided last week in Washington, D.C. We all remember this, but now the massive undertaking to collect all of the evidence of the investigation starts.